Hi everyone, welcome to this dialogue session for the Southeast Asian Short Film Competition Program 1 um, as part of the Singapore International Film Festival. My name is Vignesh and I'm a programmer with the Asian Film Archive, and I've been invited here today to moderate this session. So today we have with us three of the filmmakers whose films were in the program that you might have seen whenever you saw this. One of the filmmakers, Pham Nok Lang, is unable to join us today, but we have with us Tagyamon, who directed Judy from the Philippines. We also have Ratchapoom Boonbunchachoke, who directed Red Aninsri or Tiptoeing on the Still Trembling Berlin Wall from Thailand. And we also have Nishok, who directed Smell of Coffee from Singapore. So I'd like to welcome you all for today's session. And just to sort of I felt like when I saw all three of your films, a through line that I saw between them was this dialogue between past and present, or also between generations in different ways. In Shay and Nishok's film, this happens within a sort of a family setting. This idea of dealing with loss or grief that's stuck within this sort of familial setting, in different approaches, of course. And in Ratchapoom's film, I see this dialogue happening between, I don't know, more of a cultural or historical, perhaps even a political angle to it, using this idea of the vernacular, how one speaks. Maybe I would like to start off with Nishok first. I'm more familiar with Nishok's film. I've seen it a few times. And I understand that it's from a personal place. This idea of the relationship that you're portraying on screen between a grandson and his grandparents. Could you talk us through how you came about portraying that in your film?
Hi everyone, hi Vignesh. Thank you for the question. Mainly it was from a place of observation, and in the immediate aftermath of my grandfather's passing, I did not know how to process the grief, and I just started, actually in fact, even before my grandfather passed away in the hospital itself, I started just scribbling a lot of notes, and Smell of Coffee is one of the sketches that I decided to further upon, and it was the observation I felt strongly for, and then I expanded upon it, and then I just wanted to observe keenly the different generations and how they deal with the same topic in different manners and from their own perspectives. Yeah.
Thanks, Nishok, for sharing. And it's sort of linked to Nishok's film. I do see some resonances in Shay's film of again this sort of very strong, powerful emotions within the context of a family, and also very rooted in realism. This idea of migrant workers who travel between different countries. But while Nishok's film is rooted in realism, but it's also portrayed in a sort of realistic manner. Yours has a fantastical element to it, with the idea of the crayon that replaces the human being. I'm wondering if you could talk us through your artistic choice of how you chose to portray that figure in crayon. How do you connect these two, this realism and this element of the fantastical in your film?
Mainly it's because I wanted to portray the absence in the eyes of the child, that feeling of longing. And so, yeah, that was the choice. And also, that was mainly it.
Okay. And perhaps sort of linked to that, may I ask how was the process in terms of how you got that? I mean, because it's like a visual effect type of thing. Could you talk about how you worked with your collaborators to bring that across?
The idea came from when I was little. I used to scribble our own photos of family members, and I would like to erase them out of the picture. And so I brought that into the film, and it would be nice if we can do it like in the analog way, but it would be really hard because we have to like print it all out. So we rotoscoped it digitally, like every frames per second. I asked my fellow animators to like do scribbles in After Effects and Photoshop. That was the process.
Okay. Thanks, Jay. And just sort of to go back to Nishok as well, I'm wondering, since both Shay and Nishok's film are from in sort of a deeply personal way, and Nishok, the approach you took with your film, I'm wondering what were some difficulties you had in terms of, there's a tension between portraying something that is real and personal to you, but also something that would come across cinematically sound as well,
I think in terms of, I'm not too sure about difficulties per se, but I can speak a bit about my approach that I kind of strictly stuck to. And it was really very much inspired by this saying whereby our greatest experiences are our quietest moments. And I just wanted to pick those moments and just observe it, in the sense that we just people don't really say what they think. And whenever they tell a story, they are the hero of it. And often our deepest insecurities are moments that we keep for ourselves. So I wanted to really pick and expand upon those moments. So even when directing the actors for their separate moments and scenes, I just wanted to let the take play out and see where it went. And there were certain moments that the cast gave to us, and as the team behind the camera, we were surprised. Especially one particular moment would be when the scene whereby the boy and the grandmother are eating and drinking eating biscuits, and there was this moment whereby he broke the biscuit, and that was a moment I liked a lot. And because for that scene I didn't tell him anything, just go ahead and eat the biscuit and do what you need to. And so we were surprised and taken aback by the moments they gave us, and that was what I found really gratifying. Yeah.
Thanks, Nishok. And I'd like to sort of move to Ratchapoom, a film that is very different from Nishok and Shay's. But I'm interested in what Nishok brought about in terms of language and what one speaks and what one means, and that is something that is a theme within your film as well. This idea of you state very clearly in the start of your film that this film is all inspired by Thai cinema of the past, films that were made during the Cold War, if I'm not wrong. And it seems to me that there is a metaphor that you're sort of working in there with the idea of one's speech and how that changes and what that means. Could you maybe talk us through this in your film?
Yeah, actually, I got an idea because a few years ago I was a thesis committee for film school. Yeah, and there's one student in my class that he wants to make a film that in Thailand would be called Bomb the Mountain, Burn the Hut. It's kind of like B-grade action film set in rural country, and it was widely made in 70s, 80s, yeah. And I think every 2-3 years there's a film student who wants to make a short film in that kind of genre. I don't know why. and the story always involved the main hero is a policeman in disguise. He infiltrates into villagers' life, act as maybe just new guy in town, but actually at the end he comes here to catch the criminal, drug trafficker or communist party members in the village. And he really will himself at the end that he's a policeman, but before that he has to bomb the mountain and burn the hut, as Sean said. And when we were talking in the class how we could develop from his first idea, and one of the thesis, one of the committee, he's my colleague, and he said he's kind of specialist in Thai film history, and he said about how in the dubbing tradition after the World War, Thai audience tends to expect the actor to have their voice aligned with their appearance. If you're a handsome, good-looking actor, it's not enough for you to be good looking. You have to sound good as well. You have to sound heroic to become a hero, and you have to sound evil to become a villain. You have to sound sexy if you become a sex star in a way. So, and I think that's quite interesting that how your voice reflect your interiority in cinema, in Thai cinema. So I so suddenly I thought up like maybe, so I suggested to the student like, oh, maybe you could have this kind of film where the hero who saw it before, suddenly he has his own voice, normal voice, something like that. And the student didn't take it because he want to make a, he really want to make it like a tribute to Chong, not to subvert it or any way, but somehow like I kept this idea and slowly it's materialized, yeah. And I think it's kind of interesting that during the Cold War, Thailand mostly spent their history under military authoritarianship, and it's like that. We were like told to do things, commanded to do things, do stuff, a lot of stuff. But now like Cold War has been nominally over at some point, but still like I feel like there's a lot of mentality, like dictatorship mentality still not over with the official Cold War. It still exists in some way, maybe more subtle way in the contemporary Thailand. Like the old military officers still blame young generation or being sided with communism or something like that, which is like totally not the case not nowadays. But they're still like afraid of communist goals or terrorists in the same way in the Cold War years. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's all the three filmmakers that shared how your processes were with the films. Again, I want to say that there is this idea that the past is not entirely in the past in a sense. We carry the past with us, and I think your films in different ways show the weight of that past that one carries within themselves. Whether it's in Shay's film about the young girl who carries the weight of things that are not in her control, that perhaps policies were made, in ages ago that now affect how she sees her father and how she relates to her family. And whether it's in Nishok's film where, the boy and the grandmother who are sort of still dealing with the grief of the passing. And that is, again, something they carry with us. And in Ratchapoom's film, this idea of, like you said, political dimensions and these ideas of freedom are all in conflict, and that is something you bring about in how people speak and how they used to speak, or things like that. We still have a couple of minutes before we call things to a close. And usually what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask each filmmaker to share about perhaps their next project, if you're comfortable sharing it, and just a couple of words about what we can expect from you after this shot, or if you already have something that you have made and it hasn't come out yet, maybe you'd like to share about them, starting with Shay, maybe.
Right now I'm writing and animating another short film about language learning and wanting to get out of this country. So yeah, with all the restrictions of COVID, I think what I can do right now is just to animate inside my home. Yeah.
And Ratchapoom, would you like to share about your next project, perhaps?
I'm developing my feature, the first feature, and like I finished some draft already, but I and my producers are still looking for budget or something like that, for money to realize that. Yeah, and maybe I want to make another short film before, but I still really early stage. Yeah.
Nishok?
Yeah, there's just a few things around me that I'm observing, and I'm just picking out new obsessions and trying to formulate stories. And I only like to embark on a project if it really scares me. So right now I'm just finding what scares me the most. But yeah, that's about it for now.
Great. Nishok keeping it really mysterious. So yeah, with that, I'd like to thank you guys. Thank you, Che, Ratchapoom, and Nishok for joining us and for sharing with us your thoughts about your film. And yeah, all the best to the upcoming projects. We look forward to seeing what's next from you. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.